Welcome you all to my channel Sociological Insights. Myself Dr. Rinku Bora, Assistant Professor, Annapolis, Guwahati. Today I am going to discuss with you about radical feminism. In my earlier presentation, already I have discussed with you about feminism, its three waves. I have discussed with you about liberal feminism. Today I am going to discuss with you about radical feminism. Feminist who considers women's sexual vulnerability and men's sexual authority central to patriarchal oppression are believed to be radical. It views the oppression of women as the most fundamental forms of oppression. And thus, it is a moment to bring social change. It attempts to draw lines between biologically determined behavior and culturally determined behavior in order to free both man and woman as much as possible from their previous narrow gender role. According to radical feminists, primarily men have benefited from the subordination of women. And in this context, Millett observes domination of men over women is the result of system of patriarchy. So here definitely I will have to define patriarchy. What is patriarchy? In general parlance, patriarchy means domination of male member in both public and private sphere. It is about domination of male that is in private life, that is family, and public life, that is in different office or in public sphere. So Millett observed domination of man over woman, it is the system of patriarchy. So it describes sexual oppression as the primary oppression for women. And the central concern of this branch of feminism is patriarchy, which caused systematic domination of females by males. In sexual politics, Millett views that ideological indoctrination and economic inequality is the cause of women oppression, whilst liberal feminism had its history in movement for social reform. And you can see radical feminism, they developed their movement in relation to the radical civil rights movement of the 1960s. And this branch of feminism describes sexual oppression as the primary oppression of women, and other forms of power are often seen as stemming from patriarchy. And they viewed that men as a group are considered to be the beneficiaries of this systematic form of power. So, the main idea of radical feminism is that it is a belief that men are responsible for exploitation of women and mostly they are benefited. That means male are benefited for the exploitation of women, and the central concern of this branch of feminism is patriarchy, which causes systematic domination of females by males. And it focuses on the patriarchal family as the key site of domination and oppression, and the belief that woman biology is closely related to the oppression. That means the reproductive capacity of woman is the mostly responsible factor of woman domination. And contemporary radical feminists, they actually believe that sexism is at the core of physical patriarchal society and that all social institutions reflect that sexism. If you see the liberal feminists, they focus on the workplace and legal changes, but radical feminists, they focus on the patriarchal family as a key site of domination and oppression. And they believe that woman biology is closely related to the oppression as well as all the manifestation of sexual violence. And according to them, sexuality is the root cause of women oppression, and they are oppressed and subordinated by the male folk only because of their human or their biological features. Therefore, this radical feminist, they locate the root cause of women's oppression in patriarchal gender relation. They attack the family and they emphasize the pervasiveness of violence in sexual relations, and they sought to both organize on their own life and life, you can say life and live independently. And they argue that men exploit women, they are only particularly on the basis of free domestic labor provided by women in the home. And if you see, that is also unpaid labor. Women mostly do most of the activities at their home, but that is unpaid and that are unrecognized, and they exploit it. And that's the view made by radical feminism also. They say that this is the structure, this is the patriarchal structure, who mostly dominate the woman, who's mostly dominate the labor of woman. So, as early the feminist thinker Sulamit Firestone, 1970, argues that men control role of women in reproduction and child rearing process. That means she argues that men control the reproductive function of women and child rearing process because women are biologically capable of giving birth to children. And as they are biologically capable of giving birth to children, that's why they are mostly responsible to their children also. They cannot get time for their own life because they are mostly responsible for their children. So they became dependent on, and with that, they became dependent on man for protection and livelihood. And Firestone, she again mentioned about the sex laws also. Definitely I will have to mention here. She mentioned about the sex laws to describe the social position of women, and she claims that women can get liberation only through the abolition of the family and the power relations which characterize it. Again, I just want to mention about Rosemary Tong, about his interpretation in context of radical feminism. Actually, Rosemary Tong, she expresses her views about basic feature of radical feminism. According to her, radical feminism claims that the sex gender system is the fundamental cause of women's oppression. In our society, what is the gender systems are prevalent? This is the mainly root cause of women's oppression. In the gender system, where you can see women are considered as the weaker section. Women are socialized that you are the weaker section of the society, you should have to be soft one, and men are socialized that yes, you are the most stronger person of the society, you are the bread earner. So because of that, these are the gender system or sex gender system of the society. And according to Rosemary Tong, that radical feminism view that sex gender system is the fundamental cause of women's oppression, and in here particularly women's biological nature is the root cause. So sexism is the major form of oppression, and to end sexism, men control of the public and private realm or patriarchy must be eliminated. So a radical feminist, they argue that oppression of men over women, it leads to other systems of human domination. So they view that the systematic oppression of women will require not only legal, political and economic changes, it also requires a radical reconstruction of sexuality. As if you see the interpretation of radical feminists, what they said, liberal feminists, they say that we'll have to make some legal amendment, we'll have to make some law for the protection of women's rights because women are also human beings like the male member. But radical feminists view that you can see that to remove the different systematic oppression of women, to liberate women, for empowerment of women, if we only made legal, political and economic changes, these are not sufficient. Which is most important? It requires a radical reconstruction of sexuality. So they view that we need something more radical. If you see Mary Wollstonecraft, everybody know about her. She is a very, very, you can see, very well-known feminist writer. She also gives stress on education as creating false distinction between male and female. As radical feminists rather focus on sex gender system and its various phases, especially reproduction and biological sex role. And they believe that by providing simply a different education and more opportunity for women, nothing can be changed. If we don't change this more fundamental fact about male and female sexuality, what's going on in our society regarding male and female sexuality, if we cannot change it, we cannot change the status of a man. We cannot change the position of a man in the society only by giving them some political, educational, social rights. without changing the perception of people towards male and female, without changing the traditional perception towards man as the most, you can see, the dominant one in the society. So, here Rosemary Tong suggests that there are 5 ways through which we can interpret sexism. First, she mentioned that women were historically the first oppressed group. Women's oppression is the most widespread. This is not like that only Indian women face this oppression. Actually, in each and every society, you can see the women oppression. That may be intensity may be different, but it is everywhere. And women's oppression is the deepest. It is so deepest that actually it is very, very difficult to eradicate the oppression of women, because it is in the mind of human being. It is in the mind of individual. So, it is very difficult task to eradicate different oppression against women or oppression of women. Then again, you can see that women's oppression, it causes the most suffering to its victims qualitatively as well as quantitatively. If you see the different kind of dowry rate of dowry death, that is quantitative, that is that statistics, it can reveal that dowry deaths are increasing. And if you see the different kind of intensity of conflict, if you see the different kind of tortures against women, this is about qualitative. You can see that yes, women's oppressions, it causes most suffering to its victims qualitatively or quantitatively. So, if you see different kind of violence cases, different kind of operations against women are going on. If you see different cases like witch hunting, like domestic violence, like wife beating, this is the part of domestic violence. Dowry deaths, these are some causes, and where mostly suffer, they are the women. And this is due to women's oppression. And women oppression, it provides a conceptual model for understanding all other form of oppression, because this is the way through which we can go through the other form of oppression in the society. So, this is a very, very important thing that mentioned by Rosemary Tong, that to understand sexism, these are the 5 ways through which we can understand sexism in our society. And here, with that, here actually definitely I will have to mention here that some other feminists, they also point out that male violence against women is central to male supremacy. Male violence against women, this is central. Actually, according to this view, some violence such as domestic violence, rape, sexual harassment, these are all part of systematic oppression of women rather than isolated cases with their own psychological and criminal roots. Because radical feminists again view that men impose some popular concept of beauty, sexuality on women in order to produce certain kind of femininity. And the objectification of women through the media, fashion, advertising turns women into sexual objects, where the main role of women is to satisfy and entertain men. So, radical feminists does not find any strong evidence that women can be liberated from sexual oppression through reforms or continuing changes, because they argue that patriarchy is the systematic phenomenon, and in a patriarchal society, gender equality can be attained only by overthrowing the patriarchal order. So, definitely all of you will have to remember that without overthrowing the patriarchal order, we cannot get the gender equality in the society, and this is the very, very important argument made by radical feminist thinker. And one important thing that they mention about personal is political. This is a very important point mentioned by radical feminist thinker. They mention that they have drawn the widespread attention after asserting this concept that personal is political, and they drawn widespread attention to various dimensions of women oppression. Though they have raised many objections, but they mainly stress on patriarchy as the main cause. And they have tended to claim that patriarchy has existed throughout history and across culture, and that it is a universal phenomenon. However, critics argue that such a conception of patriarchy does not leave space for historical and cultural variation. It also ignores the factors like race, class, ethnicity, which might influence women's subordination. So, in other words, critics actually argue that it is not possible to observe patriarchy as a universal phenomenon, but as a whole, we can see that radical feminist thinker, obviously radical feminist movement is a very, very remarkable moment for the liberation of women, for the you can see eradication of various oppression of women in the society, and for giving particularly to empower women. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you.